Welcome to another video in the Rivals Team League Season 7 Playoff Series, brought to you by Legion and hosted by yours truly, Jeffrey. Alright, we've got a really great series for you today. We're featuring a different team than we've been showcasing so far. This is the first 5-game series that I've recorded as well, so I'm really excited to show this to you. It's going to be a great series, so strap yourselves in. Okay, so in case you're not familiar with Rivals Team League, let's just go over the rules real quick. Alright, so here's how it works. In the regular season, each week teams face another team in their group in a round-robin format. Matches consist of 5 1v1 sets played by different players from the team's roster, and the team that wins more sets will win the match, and if the sets become tied, then the team with more map wins will win the set. The top 8 teams from there will proceed to the playoffs, and that's where we're at right now. And then from there, playoffs will be a single elimination bracket based on group rankings from the regular season, will last about 3 to 4 weeks. So lots of great games to cover. There's going to be a ton of great series to come up. And yeah, like I said, this is going to be one you don't want to miss. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the first one. Alright, so here we go. We're featuring Bambeloification against Patguerin. This is Scarab Supreme versus Maniac Misfits. And take a look at their stats. This is going to be a really close series. Like I said, this is the first 5-game series that we've recorded so far. And no doubt, no surprise there because of the fact that, look at these guys. They are really closely ranked. Now, in terms of the match itself, the loadouts are pretty different. So we see that Bamble's running a triple air deck against Pat, who's running Mutant Chuggy. Except instead of Stealth Tank, he's running Banshee and using Seth instead of Oxanis. So not sure how that's going to play out for him. I assume this is a deck that he's probably played a lot. I have seen this variation on this deck. But we're here on Blind Spot, and as we all know, if you've ever played on this map, you know that one of the key things about this map is that air works really, really well. So Bamble's brought a triple air deck to a map that works really well for it, whereas Pat only has access to Banshee. But let's have a look at this game and let's check it out.
Establishing battlefield control. 3, 2, 1.
Alright, here we go. Game number 1 of this exciting 5-game series. Who is going to take it? Alright, so to start things off here, we've got both players going Harvester first. Bamble's decided to get his Harvester up on the upper tip fields. Now, if you've ever played on this map, you know that moving your Harvester up to the top tip field location is a good idea, just because of the fact that you don't want to have any pressure on your Harvester early on. Pat, however, has opened up with his War Factor, and I'm surprised to see that, and perhaps he's just decided to do away with the dance of militants at the beginning of this game and go straight to War Factor. We'll see if that pays off. So on the bottom pad, we got a bit of a bike versus bike war going on. This Chem Buggy getting some additional value as well, clearing up those militants. And it's looking so far like Pat's got the upper hand. He's got both bikes going on a 2v1 here. Bamble's starting to drop in value. As we see, he does have a little bit more cash in his bank account, but, you know, missiles are more important than money at this point. So Pat with a little bit more of an advantage here. He's got that bottom secured, but looks like Bamble's got both the top pads, so I'm not sure he's going to make it in time, and no, he does not. So Bamble takes the first missile, and looks like Pat's plan to go War Factory first didn't pay off. Moving on, we got Bamble now securing the pads pretty well here. He's got bikes coming out in numbers, but Pat gets his Mutant Marauders out, and this is going to force Bamble to go into his first tech switch of Venom. Now, Venom is pretty good. It has 150 DPS, which is pretty good if you compare that to GDI's Drone Swarm of 140. It's just a little bit better. Of course, it doesn't lose DPS like the Drone Swarm does as it drops models, so that's an important distinction to make here. But look at this, Shade coming out as well. Gets the EMP on that first bike set, but not the second one. That was a good movement by Pat to move it onto that bottom left hex to block the Shade from getting any additional value. So takes a few extra shots, and it looks like he's just going to move it over and get a volley off on the base. Okay. First Seth Drill Pod from Bamble comes down. Nice placement as well, right in front of the base, and good timing as he got some damage off onto those Mutant Marauders, but Chem Buggy came out right after it, and he's kind of misfiring there, shooting the bikes instead, but here we go, missile number 2, and the Banshee coming out just in the nick of time. Ooh, really good blocking there on that top left pad to stop the Venom from getting onto the pad in time. That gave Pat the second missile. So now we're starting to see the benefits of running triple air as Bamble has access to cheap Venom. Of course, Banshee does cost 30 as well, but, you know, Banshee's not quite as good as Venom in terms of its impact, especially in a match like this where you really need Venom to deal with the Mutant Marauders. So another Seth drill pod coming down from Pat. He's going to try and deal with just the cheap infantry that Bamble has. He doesn't have any high-cost infantry in his deck, except, of course, for the Seth drill pods, so should be pretty easy for him there. But that Venom doing a pretty good job. It's really pushing these Flame Troopers back. So far, looking like a pretty good stalemate. Pat has decided to just sit on that top lip with the Banshee, and now he's got that top right pad as well, but we are hardly charged in this missile. We're now also 3 minutes into this game, which has been quite a lengthy one. Phantom comes out from Babel, clearing that first Banshee, and this is going to be an important tool for him, as shutting down these Banshees will be very good for him, as Banshee is pretty important for Pat to try and secure pads right at the last moment, as like we talked about before, having access to go over those rocks is pretty important. Seth drop out on that bottom pad, and look at all the action going on. So many things happening. You got Shade on the top right, Flame on the top left, and on the bottom pad there, the lasers go down to those Flame Troopers. But here we go, Pat getting some damage here off with those attack bikes, and that Phantom is such low HP. It's hard to say if it's actually going to be able to do anything, but nice. Bamble moves his Harvester onto that pad. He should be able to move that Shade off of there now to go secure that other pad, which is exactly what we're going to see. But a Banshee from Pad does get onto that far right, so you're going to see a little bit more of a stalled missile here, but it's looking pretty close. He gets another set of bikes, but it's looking pretty tough here. Gets the nice Flame Troopers onto that bottom hex, but doesn't get the full block because the Shade cannot block the bikes there, and it's looking like a pretty close game here. But Banshee isn't going to last too much longer as well. Pat trying to fight for these pads with all these Banshees, and even though they are working, eventually they will fall because they just don't have a lot of hit points. Flame Trooper does come down onto that bottom pad with Mutant Marauders to shore things up. It's looking pretty good here, but hold on a minute. I think Bamble might take it. It's getting pretty close here. That Banshee went down on the top right, and it looks like he's got all three. Can that Banshee make it in time? Oh, so close. What a tight game that was, played by both of these players. Well, that was starting us off with a bang, if I say so myself. Wow, that was a 4-minute game, and went to 3 missiles, so if that's anything to say for the rest of the series, this is going to be a great one for sure. You know, that was a tight game, and I gotta say, the Banshees really just didn't do a whole lot for Pat at the end. The problem is that bikes work so well against them. One volley clears more than 2/3 of their health, so they don't last more than 2 volleys against bikes, which in a game like that, where you can spam fastest units against a Banshee that's a bit slower, it just doesn't work out so well. And yeah, that gave Bamble the upper hand, but it was close. Like, it was really tight there. Both players had access to Seth Drill Pod, which they both used quite a bit throughout that game. And yeah, it was really tough there. And the Mutant Marauders really didn't have much of an impact either. Their main play there was just to be high health. So, wow, great game. All right, let's move on to game number 2. Okay, so game number 2. That was an exciting game. We're going to see how this one plays out. We're, of course, changing things up a little bit. Pat has decided to stick with the same deck. He's not changing anything there, but Bamble's made some significant changes, going with actually what I consider the most standard Mutant Chuggy loadout, which is featuring Stealth Tank and Oksana. But here on Broken Mesa, this is going to change things up a little bit, of course. It's a totally different map than Blind Spot. This plays out very well for Mutant Chuggy because, well, you can actually get to the pads in a reasonable amount of time, and you're not blocked with that whole middle section. So I suspect this is also going to be a close game. We have to expect that because the decks are so closely matched, that there is likely to be more of a fight between the two. But with a more mirrored deck like this, it really does come down to who gets the better matchups and who knows the deck better, because building the right unit in the right situation is key in a matchup like this. So yeah, let's check this out and find out who's going to win this one. Okay, here we go. We got Pat on the left, Bamble on the right. And like I said, some changes up in the decks here. Bamble going with a standard Mutant Chuggy deck, Pat going with his list. And okay, so both players starting off exactly the same. Harvesters going to the same location and both starting out with their own militants. So going to be a little bit of a stalemate as we start things off here, but nice here. Bamble gets the push in and of course does end up getting Defender's advantage on the oncoming militants, so he should be winning this. And yes, he does. So we see he's got, well, actually it's pretty close, but his militants do have a little bit more health, so he ended up winning that. But it depends on what he does from here. So he's decided to split his forces up. Pat going for sticking together, which might pay off. He does push in up on the top there, realizing he's only going to have 4 models to his 5. So, but here we go. Chem Buggy does come out. That's going to be the first tech switch from Bamble, and Pat going into his attack bikes, anticipating something like Chem Buggy. So that actually might pay off for him here. But now that both players have exactly the same units, it's really going to come down to who's going to get the better matchups. So here we see the attack bikes do get hit their volley off onto the other oncoming attack bikes, which I gotta say is probably the right call. But Pat's got the pads here. You could just get the block, but no, doesn't get there quite in time. Bamble getting his own attack bikes on there, and we see Chem Buggy on Chem Buggy action as well. But here we go, nice. Pat getting the 2v1 with his own bikes. However, he needs to get onto that bottom pad. Nice block from Bamble. Oh. Or sorry, yeah, that was real close there. Pat really still had it though. He had those 2 pads secured. Winning the war on the middle pad was very key there, and Pat takes that first missile. Okay, so Bamble feeling a little hurt here. He needs to make a bit of a comeback, and Pat now getting his own Mutant Marauders online with Flame Troopers as well. But look at this, Bamble's got his Chem Buggy, and he's also got Oxana on his side, so he could boost that Chem Buggy to push in and do some real havoc there. So there we go, boosting the Chem Buggy. Now look at this. He's getting some massive damage off on these Mutant Marauders, using those low HP Mutant Marauders as a block, working very, very well, clearing the Flame Troopers as well. Huge value gain for Bamble. Bamble pushing his own Mutant Marauders onto that bottom pad, now securing it, and Pat has tech switch into Banshee. This could be key, as it could help him secure pads, but it's quite early on, so Bamble has plenty of time to respond. Getting the boost on those Mutant Marauders helps him clear that Chem Buggy very quickly, as well as getting attack bikes on that top pad, clearing those Banshees. And I gotta say, Banshee with their low hit points just aren't a great tool, especially when there's attack bikes running around. So Pat moving into his own lasers instead of Mutant Marauder, getting onto that top left pad. It looks like he might be able to secure this. Is going to flip over right away here, getting onto that bottom right as well with that lone Banshee. Will it hold on though? Look at that. It does survive one volley, and that's just enough, as Pat takes 2 missiles in a row and wins game number 2.
Unit offline.
Well, I said that that should be a close game as well, but I gotta say, Pat really showed his fangs there, showing that he really knows that deck very well. Even though Banshee just wasn't that impactful, I mean, it died to so many bike volleys. At the end there, it did pay off, as we saw that even though it almost went down, it survived 4 bike missiles, which is just insane, right? One more, and that would have been game over. The pad would have flipped over, or at least stalled, and that would have given Bamble a chance to try and fight back. But yeah, that was really tight. The Mutant Marauders were difficult, and that's the interesting thing about the Mutant Chuggy mirror match. Although it isn't quite a mirror, right? There are some key differences between the decks. It's interesting because they both have a difficult time dealing with them, because Chem Buggy is their key tool. And, well, Mutant Marauders aren't terrible against Chem Buggy. With good micro, though, Chem Buggy can win that. So a lot of it does come down to skill. And Pat really did show how great he is with that deck. All right, let's move on to game number 3. Okay, so now we got it evened up here. Bamble taking a game, Pat taking a game. This is getting pretty interesting. So now we're on Hold the Line, a very different map, as that was Bamble's choice, of course, dropping that game. And he's changed gears significantly, going into Tick Tank Chem Buggy, which is a lot like the Mutant Marauder deck, of course, relying on Tick Tanks instead of Mutant Marauders. But also switching over to Kane. Oh, you love to see that. And Pat, well, he's decided to go with the same old, same old. I mean, it's been working out fairly well for him. I think Banshee really is pretty weak, but he seems to be comfortable with it, so he's going to switch with that, or stick with that. But Bamble here, you love to see Kane, and here on a map like Hold the Line, Kane can be pretty effective, especially if you place it next to the missile silo, where it can pretty much cover the 2 pads there. So I think the key in this is going to be that even though Kane doesn't really have a lot of targets, I mean, we're talking about bikes and Mutant Marauders, which are squad-based, lasers and militants, which are also squad-based, but the one thing that it can do is it can really break up the Mutant Marauder Chuggy combination by clearing out Chem Buggies. And so if Bamble can capitalize on that, I think he might have a good chance here of getting more value out of his own infantry, which is going to be really key, I think. So, well, let's take a look at this and find out, will Kane live? All right, here we go. Bamble on the left, Pat on the right. We see players switching sides a little bit here, but that's okay. And, you know, the other thing I didn't mention is that I think Tic Tank actually is a bad play. So far, Pat's played the same deck twice in a row, and he just won the last game. So I think from Bamble's perspective, he should be expecting the same deck again. And I don't know, Tic Tank, it's difficult because if Pat gets pushed up forward, if he manages to get his Mutant Marauders out and protect them well enough, Tic Tank's not going to be that effective. But hey, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so Bamble going double Militant here. Pat holding off. He's gone into War Factory now, so I suspect Cambuggy's coming out next. And yes, there it is. So Pat is going to make the first tech switch, which Bamble means he's going to switch over into, it looks like Tic Tank. Yep. So, we'll see. Maybe if he can get some early advantage on this missile, he might be able to sneak one with this Tic Tank. Oh, look at that beautiful micro from Pat, blocking the Tic Tank from getting into position, and so even the lasers moving forward as well, letting that Tic Tank get onto the pads. That could be key here. Now, of course, he gets his militants onto that bottom pad. The Cambuggy's clearing the militants from Bamble, but looks like he just needs to get a block here, and oh, nice micro here from Pat. Really great play there, stopping Bamble from even getting there at all, forcing that Tic Tank to have to go all the way around just to get on there. Finally does get entrenched, but it's so low hit points that it's hard to say if it's going to get a lot of value. Banshee now coming up from Pat. He's got all three buildings online, and Banshee, even though it's, you know, a direct counter to Tic Tank, it's low damage. It really doesn't work well against Tic Tank. And we see there, look how many shots it takes just to clear that Tic Tank at low hit points. Imagine if it had even 50% of its health. So Bamble coming out in numbers, gets Cane Tower online, and like we talked about, this could be the key. Look at that, shooting that Cambuggy in one shot. That is extremely important, as that means that Bamble should be able to maintain more value out of his lasers, and that's going to be key dealing with both the attack bikes and the Banshees. These Mutant Marauders not able to push forward. Nice, getting more value out of his own Cambuggy with that Cane Tower doing some real good pushback here. Those lasers holding tight, and look at this. Wow. That Cane Tower had such a huge impact, making sure that those Cambuggies just couldn't do their thing. And look at how much of a dent it put in Pat's game plan. Wow. Bamble coming back with that second missile. Okay, so Bamble looking pretty good here. He's got lots of money in the bank. He's got 150, so once that Cane Tower comes back online, he's going to be able to build another one. And as we've seen, that's been very, very important. So now trying to push up with this Tic Tank, gets Cane Tower online and does lock onto the Cambuggy, and there it goes. Goodbye, Cambuggy. And here we go. That should open up an opportunity for his Tic Tank to get into position. He's going to pop it onto that top pad, so that'll work out okay. And I'm not sure how the interaction with Mutant Marauders go, like how quickly Mutant Marauders clear it up. But either way, he's got Cambuggy to try and clear them up fairly quickly. So look at that. Even though Mutant Marauders do a lot of hefty damage, that Tic Tank has got almost 50% health still, which is going to play out really well for this missile. So getting really close here. Nice block on that middle pad with the attack bikes. He just needs to stop the Cambuggy. Oh, he does. Gets a block on the bottom pad as well. And there we have it. Bamble taking the last two missiles, winning game number 3, and feeling victory in his hands. Okay, wow. You love to see games like that. Bamble pulling out Cane. That was a brilliant move. I think Tic Tank... I'm not sure. I've seen that deck before, that composition where you use Cambuggy with Tic Tank with Cane, and I think there's a reason why that synergy works. And I think in this particular case, I'm not sure if I would have kept running Tic Tank. I think I actually would have kept with Mutant Marauders instead. But either way, wow, Cane was a huge deal in that match. Clearing out those Cambuggies, and also like the map positioning, right? Like we talked about before the match, having that Cane Tower right next to the missile silo was massive because that Cambuggy could not clear lasers efficiently. And that was a big reason why he won that second missile. They had lasers on top and bottom pads, Cambuggy nowhere to be seen to clear them in any efficient amount of time. And all he had was Banshee, and Banshee just can't get there. So that was a brilliant move by Bamble. I gotta say, you love to see that stuff. Okay, well, now we got a 2-1 series. Bamble up ahead. Can he take it in 4 games? Well, I've already said it's a 5-game series, so we all know what's going to happen, but let's take a look at game number 4. Okay, so game number 4, Bamble versus Pat. So, Bamble's changed over to Inferno, and here we are on Slash Fields. Pat having no changes at all again. By the way, this is interesting. He's not changing decks whatsoever, and that's not uncommon. In a series like this, sometimes players just decide to pick the exact same thing, so not a big surprise there. But Bamble really changing decks up every single game, and he's moved over into a totally different deck of Inferno. And this is Pat's choice of map as well, so... Interesting. And Bamble, I think, making a pretty distinct choice in this Inferno deck because Inferno's really, really good against the Mutant Marauder Chuggy deck. So really smart play there. But, well, let's take a look at the game and find out just what happened. Okay, Pat versus Bamble again. This has been an exciting series. Let's take a look at this game and just find out what happened. Okay, so both players going Harvester first, and Bamble switching his deck over to a wheel-based opener gets the advantage early on, as Pat will have to back off his Misfits. Opening up, of course, lasers, but that means Bamble will go double wheel, and again, you know, we're going to see a bit of a stalemate as we always do with these types of openers, but nice micro there from Pat, moving those militants onto the bottom, stopping the lasers from getting a 2v1. So now with his own double laser, this is going to get a bit tough here for Bamble. He does need to make his first tech switch, which I feel is going to be into Flame Troopers. But no, he's decided to keep pushing forward with the wheels, opting to save the cash. And with a deck like Inferno, you do want to try to have some money in the bank. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So here we go. Does get that single wheel onto that far left, but needs to get onto this bottom right. Missile's getting pretty close. Nice boost on those Flame Troopers. Should allow him to get onto that bottom pad and stall the missile. And there we go. But lasers clear that wheel. He's going to move over. Cephalopod coming down from pad as well. But he needs to get the block on these Flame Troopers. Can he do it? No. He lets them onto the pad. And now with the bikes onto that middle pad as well, clearing the individual bike from Bamble, allows Pat to take the first missile. Having said that, though, the first missile isn't critical to this game. Of course, with Bamble and his Inferno deck, he's got better late games, so all he really needs to do is concentrate on winning the second missile, and he should be in good shape. So boost the Scorpion tank to try and clear up that Chem Buggy, but nice positioning on those lasers from Pad, moving them in front of the Chem Buggy to stop that tank from getting there, means that he didn't really get a whole lot of value out of that boost, so a bit of a sunk cost in that 30 tip. Pat now switching over into Banshee to try and break this up, and as we know before, they don't do a great job against bikes, but 2v1, they will be a bit of an issue, so he needs to back off there and does. Bamble not having access to his expensive Phantom so far, just not able to get there, and decides to go into Flame Troopers. A little bit of an odd choice there, I gotta say. So here we go. We've got those lasers coming in. Boosted flames melt them in a record amount of time and are about to get some damage onto those Mutant Marauders as well. Here we go. And Bad needs to get his Chem Buggy online to clear these flames. But here we go. Bamble's now got a chance to try and come back with this missile. Get some Mutant Marauders onto that far left. But wait a minute. He's moving the flames over. This isn't looking so good. Oh, that was real close. Now can he get there? Oh, my goodness. Wow, Bamble nearly threw that there. Almost misclicked on those Flame Troopers. Not getting onto the pad. But, whew. Bamble does manage to get there in time, taking missile number 2. So this is where this game gets really interesting, right? The Tiberium economy is completely ramped up. We're at our maximum Tiberium game. So this should play out well for Bamble. He should be able to get to his Inferno. And there we see he's built his air tower. So that means we should see an Inferno coming up pretty soon. So looking pretty good here for Pat. He's got his Mutant Marauder Chuggy combination online, and it looks like he's also going to get his Flame Troopers up, so this is going to be a pretty tasty meal for an Inferno, and there it is. Inferno coming out now. He might be able to get some pretty good value out of it with these expensive units on the field. So boosted, gets one shot off on the Mutant Marauders. Beautiful. Clearing them out. Banshees are pretty good against Inferno, but really not because of their low damage, so I don't think he's going to have too much trouble, especially if he gets Phantom going. He gets his own Flame Troopers on, and now that middle pad is pretty well secured. Gets another bomb off. That is 100 tip gain for that Inferno, so it's got plenty of value. But, of course, we're in missile number 3. This is where the rubber meets the road. Banshee gets onto that pad, and it will clear that Inferno in one more shot. Phantom boosted coming out here. This is great, but those bikes, even though with their low HP, he needs something to clear them, and the Phantom's not going to survive from one more volley. And here we go. Cephalopod coming down from pad as well. We'll clear that top left pad, and it's not looking so good. Instead, decide to take the middle pad that's cleared, and there it is. Pad taking missile number 3 and game number 4. All right, so interesting game there. I would say Bamble outdecked Pat, but he just didn't get Inferno out in time. He waited too long. I feel that he really needed to try and wait a little bit longer, as he built those Flame Troopers during Missile 2 when there was Chem Buggy and Mutant Marauders on the field, and I really feel like he needed to go Inferno right then and there. I'm not sure what the reasoning was for going for Flame Troopers, but I feel that was really the pivotal moment. Instead of spending that 40 cost on the Flames, he should have just saved it and went for Inferno, which at that point would have cost him quite a lot, and he probably would have been waiting a while, but he could have used Wheels to try and spam the paths to stall things out a little bit longer and give him some more time. So that's the unfortunate thing. The Banshees did end up becoming a pretty important tool at the end of the game there, as yeah, it stopped that Inferno on the bottom right. Seth Dropod cleared up that middle pad and allowed him to block. So yeah, tough game there for Bamble. It was the right deck, but just the wrong play. All right, let's move on to the last game and see who is going to take this series. Okay, here we go. This is the match we've all been waiting for. Game number 5. And like I said at the beginning, this is the first 5-game series that we've been able to record. So this is the kind of stuff you love to see. This is the stuff that Rivals is really made of. And, well, let's have a look at these decks and the map. So Bamble, having lost that game, has decided to go into Tug of War, and what an aptly named map for a series like this. It's really been a Tug of War, hasn't it? And yeah, deck-wise, so some changes from both players, actually. Pat finally changing his deck up just a little bit, has decided to go with Scorpion Tank instead of Banshee. And I'm not so sure I'm crazy about that change. I think, I don't know what Pat was expecting. It's actually been difficult to judge what Bamble's going to play, simply because he's been changing his deck every single game. But I think he finally felt that the Banshee just wasn't getting there. Even though it did help him out at the end there. I mean, in that last game, you did see that Banshee really is just not that great. So although I do not mind the Scorpion Tank change, I think it's actually going to hurt him a little bit here, because that just gives Mutant Marauders another target. Going back to Bamble here, he's back to his Game 2 deck, which is the Mutant Chuggy deck, and yeah, that's, you know, a good choice. I think going for something like this was smart. He was expecting Pat to play the same old, and yeah, Stealth Tank would have shut Banshees down quite effectively. Having said that, I think the Stealth Tank is weak to Scorpion Tank, but still, it really does depend how well you get your matchups, and on a map like Tug of War, where it's more open, all the pads are centered, this means that there's going to be a really good fight going on, because those Chem Buggies are going to be able to duck in and out on both sides, and both players should be able to get reasonable amount of value out of both of their decks. It does remain to be seen if the Scorpion Tank is actually going to be important, or if it's going to be instrumental for Pat, and yeah, we'll have to see. So let's check this game out. And we're off. Game 5 is underway. A very exciting series so far. I gotta say, some of the best games that I've seen out of this Rival Team League Season 7 yet, and really exciting. So let's take a look. So just like other games, both players opting to do the exact same thing, but Bamble is going to go double Militants, and like we've seen, this is the point where Pat decides to change. He knows exactly what Bamble's going to do, so rather than do the dance of Militants, he's just going to hold off and go for his first tech switch. So this, we see he has his War Factor up, and that's exactly what he's going to do. So he had to back off there with his own Militants, but that was good. He was close to the base, which means his Chem Buggy got some immediate value. Actually didn't even clear a model, though, which is kind of surprising. You'd think that the Militants with their low hit points don't take much, but there we go. Finally got some value there. And Bamble decided to go with his own Chem Buggy. Quite interesting. I wonder if he was expecting Pat to go into Mutant Marauders right away. But nonetheless, now both players both have attack bikes, Chem Buggy, and Militants on the field. So here we see Pat actually moving over to that far left pad, anticipating those Mutant Marauders, and get some good value right off the bat as he's able to stop them in their tracks. But now with a boost on Bamble's side, he will clear that Chem Buggy, so he does need to be careful. But nice Seth Dropod coming down from Pat, blocking those Mutant Marauders. So Bamble split up his forces just a little bit, but he does need to get on these pads, so gets his attack bikes on the left, stalling the missile just a little bit longer. And now he's going to move over to the far right, clearing those Flame Troopers. Very, very nice. He gets his Chem Buggy on there, and even though the lasers are coming, they're not going to do a whole lot, and this should give Bamble the first missile. There we go. Really smart movement by Bamble, and Pat just got those lasers out, but didn't do a whole lot. He needed something else like attack bikes instead. So I think there was a bit of a misstep there. Perhaps he was a little bit flustered from the missile firing, but either way, that gave Bamble that first missile. So here we see Pat trying to get some Harvester harassment going on, but doesn't quite get there. Gets another shot off on the Harvester, but doesn't take it down. And even though it is low HP, he has stopped him from harvesting. So that does help him out a little bit, as we see Pat is slowly starting to gain an economy advantage, but it's hard to say if that's actually going to be material. So here we see Pat getting his first Scorpion tank out, dealing with these attack bikes, and that's the one advantage that Scorpion tank has. It is a far better attack bike counter than Mutant Marauders, since they don't have to stop and shoot. So I don't know if that's going to pay off well for him, but he's decided to go into double Scorpion tank here, with Bamble having more Mutant Marauders on the field. And like we talked about at the beginning of the match, that just gives Mutant Marauders another target, so I'm not so sure that's going to work out well for him. And yeah, that Chem Buggy with the boost is clearing up those Flame Troopers very quickly, and Chem Buggy does have enough hit points to survive, so this isn't looking so good here. All he needs to do is clear that middle pad, and he has, but doesn't get the block with the Mutant Marauders. Unfortunate there for him there. The Mutant Marauders will clear that Scorpion tank in just another shot, but he does need to move that Chem Buggy on the far right there. He's just stopped there. He needs to remember where it is. He could try and take that pad, but now he's moved on to the middle pad and is looking quite good here. Just needs to get that block, and there it is. Wow. Really, really dominant victory there from Bamble, taking 2 missiles in a row, winning Game 5 and the series. Wow, what a series. That was some great Rivals gameplay, something you just don't get to see too often, but here we are in the playoffs, and that is why we're recording these games. That is the stuff that this game is made of. Seeing such close games, not even seeing any GDI decks come out. Those are all Nod decks, and Pat, you know, it's interesting. It's kind of a case study, right, in terms of sticking with the same old, and maybe he should have. Maybe he should have stuck with Banshee instead of Scorpion Tank, because like I said, that just gave Mutant Marauders another target, and even though the Scorpion tanks deal with the bikes, Mutant Marauders just feast or famine, right? That's where things played out for him. So didn't work out so well. The Scorpion tanks were too expensive, and yeah, he could have actually used Banshee instead to try and just secure a pad at the last minute, especially again on that last missile there. So yeah, it was kind of unfortunate. Pat did make a change, and that I have to say that's part of the reason why he lost, but both these players were fantastic to watch. Really great series, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. So, just want to give a quick shout out to the Legion team here. Kenny Emmy, Oro99, Odyssey, Sandstar, and Viper for providing these beautiful graphics. It's been a wonderful series so far. I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos. Comment down below, tell us what you think, and let us know if you have any feedback for us. As well, give us a subscribe and a like. That helps us out and promotes our videos a little bit more. Also, you know, part of the reason why we're able to do this is because of the great support that we've been receiving from the community in terms of donations. So if you'd like to be a part of that, there is a link here on the video, and also we'll put the link down in the description below. And I got to tell you, even a couple of bucks goes a long way, because if, you know, 5 or 10 people donated a couple bucks here and there, that would be more than enough to keep us going, and we appreciate it a great deal. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and we'll see you on the next one.